Ki Jai. I'm Ramlo
Bole Babaji.
Kandi Universal Ashram. And welcome to today's Zoom Satsang. And we're happy to have Sundar Singh, all the way from Switzerland, and Schwiebenalp, the center of unity. Very beautiful. And Prasadini, and she's currently in Amsterdam, but 9 months out of the year also in Schwiebenalp, being Pujari, I understand, mostly. So, and playing beautiful harmonium, I also hear. So all of those things are lovely. So also on the screen with me is Hiraman and Sandro. Hiraman met Babaji also in the early 70s or late 70s, about 76. And Sandro has known Babaji all of his life. And Gerard Bauer, otherwise known as Pujari, is here as well. So thank you everybody for being here. It's always a special time together. So I'm going to begin by asking Sundar and Prasadini to just share about them coming to Babaji. And I know you've been on before, Sundar. It may be a different audience, but I'm sure you have a wealth of things to tap into of your connection or your connection to living at a Babaji ashram all these years as well. So why don't you begin, Sundar?
So your question is how I got to Babaji, how this happened?
Like I said, or any variations on that theme.
Actually, in 1978, I saw the little book which Malti actually wrote. It just had come out, and actually Nila from Bodensee had also, I think she's also been on already, right? She showed me this book, and I saw the picture of Babaji, which is in there, and I thought, oh, this is me. And I said, but this must be my greater self. So I just recognized Babaji as my greater self. And so from that moment on, it was clear that something had to happen. And some months later, I dreamed of him, and my wife, then Agatha Usha, dreamed of him. And so we wrote to Babaji if we could come, and we went there. I was in a very difficult phase of my life. Although I was very successful as a doctor and everything, I was in a deep, and I had been doing a lot of spiritual work before, and the Buddhist meditation, all this, but I was in deep inner stress, missing something, the divine experience. And so by seeing Babaji, I felt this is a chance to get out of this tremendous pain and anxiety and crisis I was in, although everything was good in the outside. And so we asked Babaji, can we come? That was always necessary. Usually when you came from Europe, you had to write, can you come? And he wrote, yes, please come. And we drove, and it was actually the first Navaratri in 79. It was the Navaratri when the temples on the other side, on the Gufa side, were opened. And so traveling there, more and more, I realized that I am not traveling myself, but I am pulled by a string. And after a tremendous night in Haldwani in some terrible hotel of a devotee of Muniraji brought us to the dam site, and at the dam site, the Leela started very strongly because you have 3 or 4 little booths where very poor people want to sell you chai or cookies, and you have to decide whom you go to. And that was already very difficult. And then you have about 20 porters, and they all want to carry your luggage up. And you have to decide who is going to earn this little bit of money, because you really saw everybody here is hungry and without, very difficult. So it started already in the work of how to decide these things, what to do with all this which is going on outside and inside yourself. And that was like following with us, walking out the river, through the riverbed, where the water was getting higher and higher and lower and lower. Your little child was on the back of someone, and you were somewhat tangling over through the river, not knowing where you went to. So getting prepared that devotion is something necessary in life, because the devotional aspect has not been yet in my life. I was more of a scholar and more of a meditator and many interests, and I had been experiencing quite immense things by being a psychedelic student for many years and really using that for growing. But I didn't know what devotion was. So arriving at Babaji's with everybody bareheaded and only bowing right and left, we didn't know where we arrived. It was really very, very strange. We took the bath, we went up, and we were asked, we became a little corner in the big hall because it was Navaratri starting, and the whole family with our child, 4.5 years, Anu, and Usha and myself, and went to Babaji for darshan. So Babaji was sitting in the garden painting, and there was on one row men sitting, on the other row women sitting, and there was this very soft Namah Shivaya, 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 Namah Shivaya. You saw the farmers down at the river watching their cow. Maybe there was already somebody being burned. There was this huge, this tremendous feeling of of greatness in the air. And it was just very magic, very magic. And Babaji, he was having people come there and bowing to him. He was never really reacting to the bowing of anyone. So is he not interested in that? Why is he not reacting to people doing pranam? And it took a long time to understand that for him, nobody did pranam to him because there was no him. There was not a human being receiving pranam. It was the divine there. And pranam was for the divine. And Babaji was not reacting to anything like that. He was there in his playful way, in his joyful way, all the gifts, passing on gifts, talking to the villagers and to the devotees who came there. And for the beginning, it was just for me watching, not understanding anything. And he received from us gifts. He received the gifts. I brought him a shofar, the Jewish horn, for a ceremonial horn. I brought him a book which was important for me. He said it was everything true which stood in there. And we gave him some other things. And he said, oh, you, Dr. Ashram, you will be okay soon. You will be okay soon, you, Dr. Ashram. Okay, that was it. And for the next days, I was watching. And the next big step was actually when some days later, we went down the stairs to go over to the Havan, to the Yagya on the Gufa side. And Babaji, I was very on the little child on it and had me lead the horse to the Gufa side. And that was again a deep feeling of being seen. And when we came back from that Havan Kund, Madam Yagya, then he was standing at the wall and asking me, do you want the name? And then I received the name Sundar Singh Chauhan. So that was, but still I was not really open. The next big thing was getting Mundan by Moti Bhagwan, and the presence of a man with so much devotion as this simple Baba had, the joy he had singing the name of Herya Kandi, the joy he had of being a devotee. I had never seen anything like that. For me, this was a new kind of human beings. I hadn't seen people like the Pujari or like him. And this really made a deep impression and started to open my heart for this way of spirituality. And actually, to go to the last point, which then really was the end of the story until today, is that some days later, Lisetta Gianchirani, the Italian devotee, a very eminent devotee, was very close with Babaji. She was already elder. She's now 95 or 8 years old. We just had her on the phone some weeks ago. Very, very much deep in her devotion. She asked me to her room and she told me about Babaji. And in her love, in her eyes, there was so much love, so tremendous amount of love for Babaji, what she could speak about him. And at a certain point, Babaji formed in her eyes, in the back of her eyes, walked out of her eyes, through me, and where she was gone. And I can only say it was the end of Sundar and the beginning of being a devotee. This was like a whale swallowing me. I felt like, swallowed, and I ran there out of the room. I ran. He was in the kirtan hall, and I fell to his feet. He was in such a Hollywood swing at the moment. He was having a Hollywood swing at the kirtan hall. That was one of his pillars. I went there and I bowed and I said, Babaji, I want to be your disciple. That was kind of the end, at the beginning of something completely new in my life. Bori Baba.
Jai, jai, jai.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sundar. Can we move to Prasadini? Can we hear your story?
Yeah. So my story, I don't know what I know that Sundar, he's telling his story. I don't know how many times I have heard it, and I think before he told so many times to me, I don't have it fully ready yet. But I was thinking now, oh, where should I start? Because actually, since my childhood, I was praying, I was calling him, but yeah, I was on a big search, spiritual search since childhood and the teenage years, of course. And then I went to India because I saw a movie about Amma, and that was the first time I heard about saints, actually, because before I was not. I had no clue because my parents were not religious or spiritual. So I was 23 when I went to India the first time, and I met Amma. I think you all know about her, the hugging saint. So she also plays an important role in my life. So I have mother and father. I have Amma and Babaji. And to me, they are both, they came or come with the same teaching. And to me, it's just very beautiful to have both of them in my life. So first there was Amma, and I was not looking for anything else because I thought I found everything I was looking for. But then a few years later, I think 3 years later, when I went to India from then on, every year, tried to spend as much time as possible with Amma. And then my dear friend, some of you also know her. She took me to Babaji's temple, the German temple, Bole Baba Ashram. And there I was listening for the first time to the Arati. And it touched me so much. And it was kind of hypnotizing me. And the next morning I joined for the first time a Havan. And that was a mind-blowing experience for me. But still, I thought, well, big respect to Babaji, but I have my Amma and I know my path. But then very shortly after visiting the temple, I joined a silent retreat, a 10-day meditation retreat. And just Babaji was all the time. He was with me throughout the whole retreat, even though I was trying to, Babaji, but no, Amma, I want to see Amma. But he never left me alone since my first visit of the temple there. from that day on, he's with me, and I cannot deny it. Yeah, so it's somehow always by coincidence I ended up in Babaji's temples, also in one in Italy, and then also I came to Schwiebenalp, and when I arrived in his places, I somehow always I went full into seva. Always there was something big needed, like, oh, we have no chef here, nobody is cooking here. Can you cook for 40 people? Okay, I can try. It was always, he always put me into karma yoga. Yeah, and since maybe, since 7 years, I'm doing the temple service in Schwiebenalp already. Also, that happened through my friend Paramjyoti. She did it before, and then one day she got sick and she said, oh, I cannot do the Arati, please can you do it? And I said, well, I can try. I did some pujas in other traditions before, so I thought, okay, you tell me how and I do it. And she said, yeah, you do it. No, right now nobody is coming for Arati, so it will be only you, and don't worry, it will be fine. Just it's important that it's done. So I thought, okay, if I'm alone, it's more easy. Okay, for sure I will do it. And then when I opened the temple door, I saw so many shoes. And then when I did my first Arati, 30 people joined me. A big yoga group was in the temple on that night. And yeah, so, but still I did it. And from then on, I helped Paramjyoti a bit. And then I also learned a little bit more about the rituals in Rifarat, in the German ashram. And and from Sundar, I learned a lot. So yeah, Kamalaya. I also did the pujas there a few times. Yeah, it's an ongoing journey. Yeah, with Babaji, Babaji and Amma, they are both really, I have both of them in my life.
Beautiful. It's really shining through you. It's very lovely to hear your story.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are very, very grateful to have Prasadini as our pujari. And in the last years, she also learned the Havan. So we are 2 or sometimes 3 people who can do the Havan here. And this is very helpful and very lovely. I'm also really getting older now. Sometimes I don't have so much energy, and Prasadini is carrying that temple energy. And she has also started to teach young people. And we are very, very happy on Schwiebenalp. We have young people who are extremely excited. It's not, don't have this overage story in Schwiebenalp. We don't know why. We are very blessed. We have young people who appear from somewhere and they want to learn puja. They stay, they are around. Really, we feel it's one of the biggest blessings. And Prasadini is their teacher and teaches them puja. It's very lovely, really. And like last year, 3, 4 new ones. This year again, 1 or 2 new ones. It's part of our greatest pleasure, isn't it, Prasadini?
Yes, but I'm also praying.
You're also what?
I'm praying for people to come to, because when I started doing the pujas in Schwiebenalp, there were not many devotees there on this place. It was, I don't know, I think there was a change in the center of unity with the temple and the whole project, and the temple was not very, not many people came to visit the temple. So I feel like, really praying for people to come to the temple. And yes, it's getting better every year. More people are coming. We had a wonderful Guru Purnima celebration this year. I think around 50 people joined the yagya, and many young people who feel connected and who want to learn and celebrate together. It's So it's wonderful right now.
And we also at Kamalaya love having you, Prasadini. We miss you so much.
Yeah, miss you too, Kaku.
Where's our Karku? I heard you, Karku.
Hi, Karku and Java.
Ruth and I are here.
Hi, we're here. We're here.
We're here.
Russia.
Hi,
Wonderful
everybody.
to see you
Great
all.
to see you all.
Good to
Absolutely.
see you. It's like old home week, right, Sundar?
Hmm?
I said it's just like going to Harakan for Navratri on a Zoom call here, practically.
Yes,
People from around the world. So happy.
lovely to see you all, yes.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. I have a question for Prasadini. What is it you feel when you do the arti? What
Yeah,
keeps bringing you back and back? Because yeah, I have my experience, but I think you sharing yours would be valuable for me and maybe for others.
yeah. People ask me also, how can I do this every day since 7 years? And yeah, sometimes it is difficult, but only I think as soon as the curtain opens, then I'm fully in love, because before sometimes there's something, oh, again, but then once I'm sitting in front, there is this, I don't know how to say, yeah, this vibrancy, this love, this connection. And over the years I also have some a deep relation with the Murtis, and I think that nourishes me. Always it's always new. It's every arti is new for me, and it's always purifying me and it's teaching me. I'm so grateful that I can do this. I think on my own, without the temple's duty, temple service, maybe I don't think I would have done so many pujas, so many artis. So the temple helps me to be strong in the sadhana.
Mhm.
But of course, I'm also going through process. Sometimes it's more difficult, but then I also get a lot of fruits of blessings. I feel a lot of bliss. And yeah, but what is it really? I think it's love, what connects me and what nourishes me and what keeps me going.
Thank you.
And I had a wonderful dream many years back when I started doing the puja service. I had a dream that I woke up in my bed and I get ready for the temple, and I was walking down to the Schwiebenalp temple. I was all dreaming this. And then I opened the curtain with all the puja plates, and then there were maybe 100 murtis of me in marble. And I remember that this dream was really powerful. At the end, I didn't know what to do, and I was asking Babaji, yeah, what should I do now? Where are the murtis? Yeah, and I felt Babaji guiding me, like, yeah, do puja now. And I did just to this 100 prasadis. This it was a really powerful dream for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what did you take from that?
Yeah, so I think that's what Amma and Babaji is trying to teach me, to realize my own true nature, our all own true nature, to realize the self, what we are, and to whom are we doing this arati actually. I try to think every arati, I try to think about fresh, like, what am I doing? To whom am I doing this? But yeah, it's a long journey. Sometimes it's more there, sometimes it's less there. It's a journey to realize that.
Thank you. I often explain when we're doing the Arati, particularly at the end of fire ceremony, when everybody's going to be joining in, that one of the translations of Arati is that which removes pain. That's what I was told. And that the fire, I see the fire is burning away the veil of illusion that keeps me from perceiving the divine in me and everywhere else. And then there's no pain when I'm in that space of oneness. Thank you for sharing. It's beautiful. Hiraman?
I often think when I'm doing Arati that when we're offering those, that I always feel in my own heart that we're offering the light from within. It's not just the light of the ghee lamp, but the light that is us. It's something that feels very powerful.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Sundar Singh. Sundarji, you said that you saw a photo of Babaji to begin with in the first instance, and then you asked him whether you should go to India, and then you got the answer as yes. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Right. So that first experience of yours with Babaji was a photograph.
Yes. I hadn't heard of Babaji
And you're-
before. I had heard of Babaji, but this was my first experience.
Correct. And then you asked whether I should go to India, and you got the answer yes. Who gave you that answer?
Oh, Babaji by letter. We wrote to Herakan Vishwa Mahadam. It took 3 or 4 weeks by airmail to go there, another 3 weeks to come back, and then you written by some of the devotees, you got that answer. And that was the way it was. It was not internal. It was very normal and in paper that Babaji answered. Babaji is telling that you may come to Navaratri. He would say when. Then we can. Very normal.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have a question or want to make a comment about what we're talking about or anything else?
I can speak a little bit, adding to the puja as a pujari. In the time when Babaji made me a pujari in Hirakan, I had to crawl into that beautiful little temple. It has a very small door, the temple in Hirakan. So it was always a challenge with all the prasad and the puja plates to get in there and out there and even do the puja. We always did the puja to the Murti, and then you had to turn around and do the puja to Babaji's ashram. But after some time, it's like Prasadini said, you become kind of nobody. Or for me, it was an experience that you see, it's nothing to do with me. I'm doing this as a service for all these people who come to Babaji or to all of his devotees. When I was doing the puja to the Murti, I could feel that there is not really somebody, just concession and a kind of a Tai Chi exercise, which brought me in a beautiful state of devotion and emptiness. And then this happened naturally. But also the deep experience was from the beginning that has nothing, it's not for me. This is truly a service for all the devotees who come to him. But at the same time, I was so much blocking the Murti. It's not visible if you're a pujari in Hirakan. You're very much blocking the sight of the Murti when you're standing there. But the deepest experience is when I almost felt that I was above my body. I had experienced that I was from outer, my body could observe that this body was doing this puja, but it was going on kind of automatic. And it was not really a me doing there. I could observe it the same as other people could observe it, like while I was being there. that were extreme experiences I had as a pujari. So, and it's all about becoming empty. That was for me the exercise, and it happened kind of naturally. The moment you light this lamp and you pick up the bell, it goes in a trance-like way that you melt with Babaji, I could say, or you get out of the way. It's a different ways of saying it. That's a little bit as my deep experiences with doing puja. But I have a question for Sundar Singh. I would like to hear from his side. He started this incredible centers of unity in Babaji's time. So I would like to ask him, how did that happen? How did Babaji instruct you to go and do that? Or was there something in your heart or mind that you wanted to do that? I was questioning, how did that start, Sundar?
Sandro was telling before that when he was asked by Ramloti, since when he knows Babaji, he said, I think before I left the womb of my mother. That's what he said, right? And so I think we all come with this relationship with Babaji in a way. We are all part of this family. And Babaji for me is not only Herakan Baba, it is the divine. So we all are these children of the divine. We call him Christ, doesn't matter. So we are part of this divine being. And so actually my wish as a child was always to help people and to help animals and to do something for the collective and all this. So when Babaji told me in 81, I should do an ashram and center in Switzerland, it was clear in me that the name should be Center of Unity. And I wrote it then to him and asked him if it was okay, and he answered yes, it was the right thing to do. And at that point already, I have this, I'm coming from this Jewish family, and I was already connected to the Christ. I'd done Buddhist meditation. I felt Babaji is universal, and as he said himself, for all religions and beyond the religions, and the guru of all gurus. So for me, this was very central. And so I also, when I saw Schwiebenalp, I thought, oh, because actually my imagination of the ashram was as big as the little farmhouse there. And suddenly I saw this huge thing up there. It's much too big. What do we do in Switzerland? It's such a big thing. We are 20 devotees in Switzerland. And so it became very clear it is Babaji is the energy of this, and he is the motor of this, the inspirer of this. But it's about opening up to all ways of consciousness, all ways of opening love, heart, and consciousness in whoever and in whatever way. And that's how also like this temple of unity came about, that now in our temple since 15 years, we have not like in the Indian temple, Ganesh and Hanuman and Bhairav and all this, and Vishnu, in the different, no, we have the Hebrew tradition and the Christian tradition and the Islamic tradition and Buddhist tradition and the tradition of the old women, female traditions from the early times. So all this comes together. And when I do puja, or when we do puja in the temple, we start naturally with Herakan Baba and Herakandeshwari Mai. But we have also Radha and Krishna, and we have Hanuman and Ganesha and the Divine Mother in different forms. But then we pass tradition, all these traditions. And for me, it is like collecting all together in the unity, collecting all together in this unity of which you have spoken, Prasadini and Pujari, this unity which we want to reach in us, this oneness we want to reach in us, where there's only the self, this one undistinguishable, this one being. And this is where our work goes on inside. This is this tremendous inner work to live in the fullness of the many and to really become aware of this oneness of all. Yeah. And also extend our love to all of them.
Thank you.
Big work for all of us.
Yeah, there's Sandro raising his hand, I believe.
Yeah, I just had a quick question for Sundar. Sundar, do you also, or do you still follow any of the Judaism or Judaic rituals as well?
Actually, my main ritual work is here, Schwiebenalp, is the field work. My inner work is in these years now, where I get older, a lot of meditation. I do puja here, I did Havan on Thursday, I will do Havan tomorrow. I love to do Havan, I love to do puja. But I've become more and more doing a lot of meditation. I remember in Herakan, Gora Devi, she was the one who never came to Arati. She did always meditation. It was her duty, and she was a devotee like everyone else. Her discipline was to do meditation, lots of, and some others also. There was times where Babaji told people to meditate more, because he also said meditation is too difficult for us. We cannot get our minds. So puja is helping us to concentrate. As Pujari said, we concentrate by doing this little thing, putting the grain of rice on the lingam, on the trishul. This is fantastic. Every time I do Havan, I decorate. I have these little things. My mind is completely focused then on Baba, on that. But to get that without puja and become really inside silent, it took me now 50 years. But I can say, okay, my meditation starts to be a little better. And so I don't do other rituals really. Naturally, I love to do a Shabbat ritual because this is part of my upbringing and it is so joyful. I will do a joyful Shabbat with my grandchildren and children also once in a while. But these rituals don't have for me, they are a help and they are beautiful and they are for the field we do. But the actual transformation is in everyday life and in meditation for me.
Thank
That's what I can say if I'm, open.
you. Thank you. Karku, you had your hand raised too. But you have to unmute so we can hear you.
You're still mute.
Yeah, you have to unmute. And on the left side down in your screen, there's a little button. On the mic. Can you find it?
Maybe you have to unmute him.
I see it. I
From
see it.
Loti, do you have to unmute?
I was having to.
There was something else happening. The Zoom kept disappearing. Every time we tried to unmute, the whole thing disappeared. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I was raising my hand to wave at Sandro. I wasn't really waving my hand to speak, but the
Well,
the conversation is so beautiful. And
Sundar.
let's wait for Karku to complete and then we'll go to you. But Karku, now that you've gone through all this to unmute, why don't you speak words?
Well, I really respond to everything that I've been hearing. When we started doing the Arati at Kamalaya, Muniraji gave a little talk about, and I shared this recently, so I won't go through the whole thing again, about how we're really speaking to the God within ourselves as we're dealing with. We also developed the idea to do the Arati and go in a full 360-degree circle so that we could offer the light to all traditions, to all the world, to every being. And that is who Babaji is and was and always will be. As you know, he was the guru for everybody, for all traditions. And when since I got the floor, I'll just say when I sing the Arati, that's a moment of connection that is so deep and so profound. I can remember from the early days in Herakan when I first got there, before we even had booklets, and we had to just learn it by sitting next to people, and we had little sometimes some not printed sheets, some memographed sheets on one of those machines in the old days. try to learn the Arati. And in the beginning, I was impatient and it was hard and it was difficult. And I used to just want to get through it. And slowly over the years, it became the most beautiful and profound experience. And now for the last long time, it's a moment of absolute connection, and there's no time and there's no space. And it's the most incredible part of my day. It's just a moment of total connection, of just knowing that you're at one with something so much bigger than yourselves, which we put Babaji on it, or we put Amaji on it, we put anybody on it, the divine. It's an incredible connection to Babaji.
Thank you, Karku.
No, just leave that for later.
Sorry, my computer keeps playing with me today. I can't. Okay.
Good.
Are you able to hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear and see you very well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because we don't. Suddenly the screen just keeps disappearing. I'm sorry.
We hear and see you very well.
Now,
Yeah,
You can
thank
speak.
you. It was a beautiful, beautiful sharing, heartfelt. And I think for all of us, this Arati is such a magic. I had also the joy, of course, of playing with you so many times. And we can look at each other and we see both nobody. There is just devotion. I look at you, I see devotion. You look at me, we see devotion. And that we feel Babaji. We feel the divine. Let's say it's male, female. It's so true. This slokas, they do something with our nervous system that we cannot even explain what's going on. But Babaji, it's such a gift of Mahendra Maharaj. He got the gift from Babaji to transmit this prayer, but it's such also for me, and probably for Prasadini the same, to do this over and over again. You never get enough. Every day is fresh. You take like taking a bath. It's a bath and you're there again with Babaji. It's an amazing prayer. But you expressed it very beautiful, Karku, wholeheartedly. And then I know how you play the drum also. Sometimes I see you're not really playing, it's just happening. There's not really a Karku playing. And I have the same feeling with singing bhajan, and I can feel Prasadini is also on that track, that you sing and you pray, but you're not really doing anything. You're like a bird and you cannot do it otherwise. That's the beauty of doing it long time. Although I remember in the beginning when I first picked up a chimta in front of Babaji, was outside on the terrace, and in one of the first arati that I dared to pick up that big metal thing, it was going automatic in my hands. I didn't have to do anything. I said, what's going on? This is quite magical. Those kinds of experience. But I always think, well, that's how you drum. You just sit there and it happens to you. A very trance-like state of devotion. Very, very beautiful. But I know Prasadini, she is a very sweet and deep bhajan person also. So maybe you can share something of your experiences with that, Prasadini, how you connect with the divine through your singing and playing.
Yeah, you described it just so beautiful. I mean, yeah, something special is happening when we do kirtan, right? I don't know. It's just in this, there's nobody there. You become like a flute, right? To empty yourself, and then a melody can go through you. Yeah, actually, you already explained it so nice. I don't know what to add, but it's some magic is happening while chanting mantras.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
we
somebody else had a question.
I would like to add something to my practice. And this is that in the last 2-3 years, always again in the last 42 years that it is now that I am with Babaji, which is a longer time that I'm not with Babaji. I've been always again going through the Arati booklet and reading the English or German texts to understand, and then also to go and try to understand the words. And as I don't know Sanskrit and I don't know Hindi, again and again I lose it, but I feel for me, again and again, I want to be aware of the words, of what it means, when it is pranaming and what parts of the eyes of Babaji I love and all this. So I really enjoy again and again to study that little booklet and to understand more while I'm singing. Sometimes it's too fast for me, even I try to sing slower, to really be aware, not in my mind, but in my heart, be aware of all this praising of the divine, of all this thanking of the divine, of all this remembering the spiritual practice and the spiritual philosophy, which is all in it. The Arati has all the spiritual philosophy of Hinduism. It has all of all traditions. It has all that in it. And so I enjoy also going back and back to that. Just wanted to share that.
I'd also like to share one more little thing, if I may. A few years ago, we had a Qigong master visit us at Kamalaya, and he was a very renowned Qigong master. And he came to check out Kamalaya, and he was thinking that he might bring a group there. Actually, it wasn't that long ago. It was just before the COVID. And then, so his bringing a group got interrupted. But he came every morning to the Arati. He sat quietly every morning to the Arati. And he got up one morning and he said, this goes through, this vibration of this song covers all the chakras. It covers every energy center. This is a complete cleanse. And I'll never forget that, because he came totally from an energy system. And singing the Arati is really, all the years we lived in Harakan, it was like, yeah, learn the Arati, but then you got to learn to do puja, and then you got to do the Saptasati, and there's, Arati was just that's for the householders. That's just like for people, but then we're so close to Babaji, we have to learn more. And, but Arati is it. And it makes my life.
Kiraman?
I think for me, Arati is not, Arati goes on all the day, and I just drove up to Alaska, and I was driving 18 hours a day, and like one day I just did the Hanuman Chalis all day over and over and over again as I was driving through the amazing beauty and this place in the world is one of my favorite places to be. It's a sense of oneness that is just pervades everything. And like Karku was saying, how all the chakras are opened and nourished. It kind of nourishes our whole life, so that there's no difference between us and Arati. The light we're offering is from within us and all around us, and there's no separation. And it's the same with karma yoga for me. Like in Harakan, I never went to Arati. I never really started doing Arati until Babaji sent me to the temple to build a temple in Hawaii. Because I sat with Babaji at the fire every morning, and then as soon as it was light, I just started working. And at night I was with Babaji outside his kutir, and then when we'd come in to the temple after Arati, so always the bhajans, but the Arati is kind of like a gift that just keeps on giving all the time. We just, it's just an aspect of Babaji that just fills us. And it's not just when we sit. I think Sundar was saying something about really important about how the field is, all of life is a field, are different fields, and they're all interconnected, and we are so connected to each other and Babaji through the Arati, and that just pervades all of our lives, and every moment of our life if we're open to it.
And
Rakesh is
go ahead.
So Hiraman mentioned Hanuman Chalisa. I recite Hanuman Chalisa every day, and I am actually not yet, Babaji has not yet blessed me with his peace or whatever I explained last time. But I have a question to you. Does any Arti give you the same feeling, whether it is Hanuman Chalisa or maybe Ganesh Ji ki Arti, or I think Pujari mentioned some shlokas? These different things, all of them give you the same feeling, or is it one particular thing which gives you that feeling?
That's a good question. I think that we all resonate in different areas. For me, the Arti is really powerful and the Hanuman Chalis are really powerful for me. I have a particular relationship with Hanuman that I've always cherished, and so that's quite powerful for me. And so I often don't branch out that much. I just kind of go to my favorites. So. But I don't know why that it shouldn't. I think, the divine is in all of us and in everything, in every breath, in every moment. And however we choose to partake in that divine is kind of an individual thing for us.
Yeah, Rakesh, for me also, the Arti, that's like a healing prayer, which is a standard for all Babaji devotees to hold on to. And it just purifies you, it heals you. Like last week, you were speaking about that you felt obstacles and difficulties in your heart. An Arti is a beautiful way to just get things in line and to clean ourselves. And at the same time, we have our favorites. If you like Hanuman or you sing to Ram, it can be a little bit different. If you sing Shiva songs, it can be also different. If you sing to the mother, that can bring also a completely different energy. If you sing to Bhairav, it can also bring a very different energy. So there are, in my singing bhajans experience, very different energies you can relate to. And at times you prefer this, at times you prefer that, but the Arti is such a balancing, healing shlokas that's good for everybody all the time, to keep it going as a healing. So that's what I would like to say about the different possibilities. And for us, I will tell a little story about Girish. Most of us who've been in Hirakan, we know Girish. He is like the builder and the builder overviewer who built most of Hirakan, all the buildings. When he came to Babaji, he was a Ram devotee, so he always had the chandan like this. And he told me his story one day that when he came to Babaji and he saw him as his guru, but he was wondering, he comes from this family and his deity is Ram. But then Baba gave him this experience that he could sit during the Arati and look at Babaji, and then Babaji started to change form. He became the Divine Mother, he became Ram, he became Hanuman, he became Bhairav, he took different forms, one after the other. So he was he was in a very divine state, but he opened his eyes and it would be there, and he closed his eyes and it would also be there. And that was in the with. So that is an overwhelming experience. If Babaji grants you that kind of darshan, that he can, through him, all these deities he can manifest or give you darshan through his body, through all these deities. He is a light form, so he can manifest any deity through him. That's this man, of course, he's still in Hirakan and he's built an incredible, beautiful ashram. But I just tell this to share his experience, what made him be able to do that and to be in that kind of devotion and tapasya. But Baba gave him this great boon that Baba showed himself as a light being to him. So yeah, I wanted to share that beautiful story of a devotee having that kind of darshan, and at the same time to you, Rakesh, that Babaji has all these different energies. He could let that go through him. And that was playing through him all the time. No, if we lived with him, Babaji was one moment better, then he was Hanuman, then he was a Divine Mother. You can see that in the pictures. No, he was not one kind of energy. He was everything, changing in the smallest seconds. He could behave very differently. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. I'll just share one thought about it. See, Hanumanji is considered Shiv avatar of Shiv, and Ganesh is the son of Shiv. They both are actually an element of Shiv himself. But if you get into a little detail, Ganeshji is called Vigna Harta, which means you are trying to, initiate, let's say, a new project, and you are praying Ganeshji that there are no hurdles into the success of that project. Hanumanji is, you pray Hanuman to save yourself from Sankat. Hanumanji is called Sankat Mochan. So you pray to Hanumanji that, protect me from danger. So the spirit of these two, even though both are element of Shiv, the spirit of these two are little different. So I think, like Hiraman said, he finds Hanuman Chalisa, I don't know, his favorite. So if it is a matter of favorite, whatever we sing, we will find the one which I like good, but I am still trying to find the one which I find, good for myself. So I ask you this question, whether it is your individual choices or whether you sing anything and you find the same thing. That was my question. But I think I got some answer of it, and thank you for that.
I think it's the one that goes right into your heart. The one you sing where you get to connect, where you're at one with your deity.
I'm searching for that. Thank you.
Always be the one.
And that is also, I think for me, I just have complete faith that the divine knows, Babaji knows what is best for me at all times. So I just offer up my heart. And like Harku says, the heart for me is it's all about the heart. Come from your heart. And even if you make mistakes, they'll work out. With Babaji, oftentimes when we didn't do things like we could have done them better, it's like, okay, it didn't work out, but we'll start from here and do better next time. So Babaji is infinite patience, infinite love, and also a firmness too. Like, hey, you got to do better this time, So it's just like we just keep trying and we keep trying to do better, and we just keep offering our heart, and the divine will know what's best for us as long as we listen.
Thank you.
You had a question? Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah. Hi.
Okay. Well, I like to add something about the Arati, that in the Dutch ashram, that's where I come mostly, then the whole day there's a lot of work. Everybody's working on different places, and you are focused on this karma yoga, and some people have to do meetings, or as you know, probably in all ashrams this is happening. So, but then at the end of the day, there's always this arti. And then I love that moment so much that you work and then you see, oh, he has arrived too, and I haven't seen that person. So there are so many things going on, like in life, like in life outside ashram. It's just a life in this ashram. And people do not know each other, or there are a lot of differences. And then everybody has to kind of prepare themselves for this Arati. And then I always feel, I think, oh, I'm late, I have to shower, take a shower, and in the shower I see this woman I've never seen, or, you know, it is, when you look at from above, it's quite a strange situation. But at the moment we are all in this Arati, it is really so beautiful. You feel the power of Arati. It's like unity. And we're all together, and some know this, are with these books and booklets, and some are just singing. But it is all very, there's just this whole energy. And then for me, it feels like, okay, now we're all one again. We come all together after a day, and we're all one again. And then after Arati, we have meal, and everything is fine. So I just want to express how completely happy I am with this Arati at this time of the day. People coming together, and also there's space for everybody. You know, also the Dutch ashram is in there's a path for hikers, and sometimes they just walk in. You know, they walk into this temple, and they sit, and then they walk out again, and it's all fine. So the differences are gone during the Arati. Maybe they pop up again after Arati, but that is so powerful, very, very powerful. So I thought, I thought it is done, all ashrams in the world, it is done in morning and end of the day, isn't it? That's what Babaji wanted, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah. That's just what I wanted to add about how beautiful this Arati is. Yeah.
Yeah, you said it very beautiful, Annemar, that it's for a whole group, so healing and beautiful to sit together on these moments. Whatever turmoil there is also gets kind of balance and at least a little bit healed. You can look through it in the experience of being kind of in a beautiful state together in this Arati, morning and evening, if you're staying or living in the ashram. That's a great gift of how an ashram can keep on flourishing. I think there are many communities, if you don't have this kind of purpose or concentration exercises, it's very difficult to sustain. Then the human problems take over, and the many groups split up. But the ashram it has that stability because of these ceremonies, no? That we can heal and clean our relationships with each other. Beautiful said.
Really well said. And also how like Babaji would often say, you know, after we've worked really hard or something, you rest. It's kind of like it's a place we go to rest together and share together. Lovely.
Very beautifully said, Anu. I really loved it, the way you said it. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.
So do anybody else have any questions?
Well, I just comment as I listened to this, if I may. It's, you know, for someone like myself who's a relatively newcomer to the family of Babaji, and having attended the Aratis and begun Aratis, you know, in Kamalaya, and then moving on to India, and then I come home to Alaska, where I find myself alone and not the musical knowledge or skills that being able to perform an arti alone in my own temple, let's say, becomes, you know, I find that it's somewhat important to have people singing with you, and I derive a tremendous amount of joy and energy when I'm singing Arati. All of the Arati, the songs bring joy to me, but more joy when I'm doing them with others and in a setting rather than just sitting alone. When I sit alone, I I will meditate and feel things, but I will not. I don't. It's not the same as when I'm with people singing the Arati together, where I get some real powerful feelings, I guess is the way to put it. So, I get a little jealous because all of you are in ashrams and able to go to an Arati twice a day if you choose to, and to do things like that. But I find myself frequently, alone and trying to get that same Arati feeling. It's more challenging. So I'm a bit jealous.
And come to Switzerland, Sandro.
Sandro, come be the Pujari at Kamalaya for a while.
Yes,
I'll
you're
need some
coming
lessons.
for Prasadini. Prasadini is going to come a little late this year, so you could come and fill in for her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll sing with you.
Prasadini is my teacher. She tried to teach me the harmonium when we were in Kamalaya.
Yeah.
I do play music. I play a lot of music, but I'm learning and trying to learn the slokas on the guitar, actually. But the harmonium is beautiful. Thank you, Prasadini, for that.
You got to watch what you ask.
I am a good vocalist. I am a good in vocals. If anytime you need my service, I'm more than happy to give. I'm good in bhajan singing.
Oh,
thank you.
Lovely.
Come and visit us at
Come,
Kamalaya.
come.
Where are you sitting, RD?
I am in New Delhi, India.
Acha, bahut
I have
acha.
also, I have been to Switzerland also briefly. I have also been to America, like I said last time, England. Finally, I get to meet all of you when I'm back in India.
Okay. Well, we live in Thailand. We're in America right now, but we're in Thailand on the island of Koh Samui, and we have Arati twice a day. If you get the calling to come and sing with us.
It is very important that we were speaking a lot about now the unity and the oneness, and now we are in that talking about coming together as the many, that everybody together becomes stronger and stronger. And I even remember and know in Herakan, when there are only 4 or 5 people or 7 people for Arati, even in Herakan, it is drowsy. And on the Gufa side, after all the work they had, there's not all that energy in it after all this work. And when we are 500 people chanting Arati together, we think we can move the world. I mean, the energy of doing things together is really our very powerful energy. And that's why also now these Zoom satsangs with a real group of people, it's very powerful. So we are one, but we're also very good to come together. It's very helpful. Bring our energies, our hearts together. It's so lovely. Thank you, Ramloti, for doing that again and again. It's really a lovely service you're doing to all of us to just continue and continue to bring us together in these satsangs. And so really this new Zoom energy is really, this digital energy has also its good sides. It's lovely. Yeah. Because Babaji very clearly said that when the Kranti goes on, we'll be far from each other, and there will be like even difficult at night to see the light of the next house, and it will be a lot of difficult separation. So it's great to have each other, and I hope we can sustain that, to really come together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I also want to share that I was always impressed with Sandra Ray. She, I don't think, had musical ability to play the harmonium or really sing the songs, but she always would put a tape on in her group of 30 or 50 people and play the Arati every morning, whatever thing she was doing. And people derived a lot of benefit from that. So, I mean, just that you're alone and maybe you don't have the musical ability to sit down at your harmonium and play. I play harmonium, but I also love listening to the tape if I'm by myself traveling or something of Arati. So I don't know. For me, it touches my heart also.
Yeah. Sandra inspired Jamna to come to Babaji 39 years ago when we met.
Right, Sandra. Yeah, it was great. You know, all the different people doing all the different ways they serve. Yeah.
Pamela
You
had her hand
Excuse
up.
me, this is Pam, you can download it from Amazon Music or Google.
Oh yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
download it on.
Sorry, could you say that again, Pamela?
Yeah, you can download RT, Amazon Music.
Yeah.
I have it on my phone.
Oh,
Great.
beautiful.
The
I
J.
have-
I do it every morning in my home off my phone.
Yeah.
Great.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I do that as
Imagine
well.
going to work with that.
You have an eye temple.
Yeah, and
Good one, Karku.
I have a CD too, but yeah, this is amazing. Yeah,
It is amazing.
yeah.
So grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do the same, and I have some beautiful versions of the Arati that I listen to in the mornings and when I can in the evenings. But that wasn't my point. I know you can get it, but there's a difference between being a participant in the Arati with other energies flying around the room, lots of other people, or even just a few other people, and singing and making the mistakes and you know, the music being live and vibrant brings me into a different space, I guess is the best way to put it, than listening. I don't really enjoy sitting in front of computers, so it's hard for me to do RT in a digital world. I've tried several times with some of the RTs that you've done, Ramloti, but I find a disconnect there when I'm sitting at a desk with a computer in front of me. I did that for too many years in my working life, and it brings back too much work memory. So it just doesn't work for me. But the Arati, of course, I listened to. I have a beautiful version. He recently passed away.
Hargovan.
Yeah, Hargovan. And I listened to that, and when I first started listening to it, the tears would come down my eyes when I would listen to that Arati. It's not that it doesn't have an impact. It's just that it's different when you're alone. I feel sometimes you can get yourself wrapped around your own axle in thought. Than when you are with others, that opens your heart further, I suppose. You don't wrap yourself around yourself so much.
We are blessed with a lot of really wonderful musicians in our group too, you know, so it's nice when we're together. And I think still we have to always work on being with ourselves, you know, and being full when we're with ourselves. That's a part of our humanity that can always use some growth. It's just being full.
Karina,
Jamna wanted to.
Jamna wants
Yeah.
to speak. Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Hello. I'm greeting you from Germany.
Oh,
from
I'm
Munich.
sorry. I thought we were talking to Jamuna. Okay, Jamuna, you'll be next. Is this
Sorry.
Biggie? No, who is this speaking?
Here is Fortuna.
Hi, Fortuna.
Oh,
Hi. How are you all? I hope you are doing fine. And yeah, thank you. What I like about these meetings is that, you know, when you think about the glass, it's got a magnetic features, you know, like metal is electric and glass is magnetic. So that's what I like about that. I'm a very technical kind of person. Yes, and then if you the spirituals that are involved in like esoterics and spirituality would be more like easygoing, more like not so serious all the time. But of course, I know it's always a question of life, isn't it? So that's what I meant. And I wanted to ask, can I ask, is there somebody from Germany from the temple in Referat? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Is there anybody from Referat here?
Is anybody here?
Not this time.
Monica, what is? No.
I go there sometimes, but I'm not living there in Referat.
Yeah, I wanted to know if the temple is running, because there was the big flood at this part of Germany by Köln.
Yeah.
So
No, it's open again. You can come there now. It's
okay.
Don't have to call. You can come. It's open again.
Yeah, I think I will drop in next week.
Yeah, they would love it. Okay.
For sure. Thank you. And nice to see you all again. Hello. I know you from videos on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
But Jamna was wanting to say something.
Go ahead,
You had
Jamna.
your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I think I wanted to pick up on the theme of Arati, and when my first experience with Babaji was through a photograph, and it changed my life right then and there. I knew something irrevocable had happened, and I won't tell the story again because I've shared it already before. But from that point, I think maybe a month or two later, my mother was in London, and I joined her. So it was summer holidays from university, and she went on her own to a spiritual fair that was happening in London, and she came across a booth where some Babaji devotees were, and she had also had this experience already, the same time that I had. So she came back from that gathering with some CDs from Hirakan Arati and of bhajans, and a mala. I think she brought me a mala. And from that point, we had Walkmans, so it was the 80s. And I would listen to the Arati every night alone. It was my communion, and often through the day. And I would just go into bliss. And I had not yet met Babaji. And it gave me a feeling of bliss, of communion. I mean, it was like my spiritual umbilical cord and my spiritual blankie and my spiritual pillow. I mean, really, there was nothing. If at that point someone had said to me, you're leaving this plane, you can only take one thing with you, it would have been the Arati recording. It became everything. And it was my absolute union. And by the time I arrived in India 9 months later, I knew the Arati. Before I got to India, I went through Europe, and I was traveling with Leonard Orr, who had 2 or 3 people with him, and I was one of them. And he was, of course, going to different rebirthing places, and many people in Europe had met Babaji in these places. And eventually I landed up in Schwiebenalp when Sundar, it was new and it was being cleaned up. It was like there were lots of karma yogis there, scrubbing the walls, and I remember being up in tall ladders and scrubbing, and everyone was chanting, the bhajans. And all I wanted to do was listen to the Arati, to the bhajans, and to talk to people who had met Babaji. But my first group Arati that I can remember was actually, for me, having had this solo communion, a letdown. Like, it was really shocking, because I had had this bliss that was intimate and personal and one-on-one, and all of a sudden it was like I was in a Catholic church in my and rituals, and it was like, oh my God, I left the Catholic Church at 5. I was talking to God and saying, I don't believe in the Pope because I'm not supposed to be able to do this with, so all of a sudden I was, oh no, maybe I've made a mistake. It was exactly the opposite for me, Sandro. And then when I got to India, it was too chaotic. It was too rambunctious. It was too real. I suppose I have a very contemplative side that I'm still wrestling with, because my life is having married a real extrovert and created a real, community through Kamalaya. I struggle with this side that truly is more contemplative. Anyway, eventually, you know, I began to really enjoy the Arati, but where it happened was I would go to the Arati down in the Duni. In my whole time with Babaji, I wouldn't go up because it was too chaotic, and where I found it to be more peaceful, more manageable, where I could find myself and experience that bliss was down in the Duni. And then through the years, you know, my relationship with Arati has been rich and meaningful. But then in Kamalaya, all the ambivalence came up again because I love that we have Arati there. And at the same time, because it's the place where, you know, we're the host at Kamalaya, I can't just be with me. So it's this really, as we're having this satsang, it just brings up so much just for me to look at the complexity of my history, personal, and then how that comes into my communion and in relationship with Arati. And for me, I think ultimately when I can go in Kamalaya, and which has been more and more through the pandemic because we don't have many guests, I'm rediscovering the joy and the pleasure in a small community of doing the Arati. So I think, Sandra, I just wanted to share that we all have our unique experience of it, and it's not always straightforward and simple for many of us. For some of us it is, and it's beautiful. For some of us it's complex. I love it, but I had to get over some of the Catholic issues to enjoy it. And even in Herakan, I went into the Duni, which was, you know, more contained, and in Kamalaya, as you know, I go in and out of it. But now these last 8 months were bliss because it's small and I can go and it's my personal communion. So I just thought I would share. I don't know, it arose, but it is and has always been one of the most powerful ways for me to commune with Baba before I ever met him in a form. And I also wanted to share in terms of form and the relationship to the divine, to Babaji, what form, and there's so many forms. Babaji with me took 2 very prominent forms. And I think that's why it was like it was revealed. One is in all the dreams before I met him, he was Bole Baba. He had no shoes. He had very simple drapey cotton clothes. There was no, it was simple. It's almost perhaps as I would imagine Christ in the simple days before he had throngs of people, you know, just very, very, very simple. And the dreams and experiences I had were always like that. In person, of course, there was a lot going on depending on which devotees were there. If the very wealthy devotees were there, the form was very elaborate. But many times Babaji would take his lungi when we were walking in the village and even around the ashram and drape it over himself like a chuni, and he became the mother. And he would sway and I would be walking with him and I was going, what is he doing? Because I didn't understand at that time that I have a very strong connection to the Divine Mother. And he would take that form right there, right in front of me, right beside me, over and over and over. And it made it so clear the particular form that resonates most powerfully for me. So that was in relationship to when we want to know. I think it comes. I think we really ask, and it comes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Prasadini, you've been listening to a lot. Anything coming up for you?
I just enjoyed so much listening to Jamuna because I can relate to this. I sometimes I'm wondering because I hear all the amazing stories of you guys who really met him in the physical body. Sometimes I was wondering, okay, how would that meeting in the body would have been with me and him? And when I listened to Jamuna's stories, I think, are maybe similar like her stories, because I sometimes I think I know why I incarnated later, because I think I am too shy to really meet him in the physical form. So I have to meet him in another way. But sometimes when Jamuna shared her stories that he was always super sweet and like a mother, I somehow, can relate to this when she's talking.
He met
Yeah.
you where you are.
Sorry?
He met you, he meets you where you are.
Yes. And I'm so grateful for for all of you who really met him, and that you keep the Sangha alive, and that I can have darshan through all of you, and listening to your stories is so, it gives me so much. Not just listening to a story, it's really something, there's really darshan happening, and I'm so grateful for, all of you who are sharing their stories again and again. And Ramloti, thank you that you're doing these online services, and I learned so much through all of you, Kaku and Yamuna and Raghuvi also, Sundar, of course. And
Thank you. Thank you.
We're grateful for the light that shines from you, and it's just so important to reiterate that it doesn't matter if you've met Bob in the physical.
Right.
Bob is in your heart. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And your darshan, giving us your love and support, and all the people on this group, their experiences are all equally valid. It's so beautiful, and yes, thank you.
Yes.
And I also think you gave us a very good segue for announcing next week, because you mentioned Raghuvir. So next week, it's going to be a different timing. It's going to be 6 p.m. in America. And I'm sorry for our Europeans, might have to wake up at 2 in the morning. But it'll be easy for him in Thailand. I don't know when you're going back, Karku and Jamna, but it'll be 6 p.m. for America, Mountain Time. In India, it'll be 5:30 in the morning, a great time to get up. And anyways, it's also going to avail of us of having Nansing again. He's from Australia. So this, otherwise he would have to be up at 2 or 3 in the morning also to join our satsangs. And we've had him for a few, which have been wonderful. So just know, if Europeans, you'd like to get up at 2 in the morning, it'll be a big treat. Raghuvir and Nansing together are always a great blessing. And then, we'll go back more to our regular time, but we wanted to have that moment. So you have a question, Monica?
No.
Go ahead, Monica.
It just come in my mind of singing Arati and Bhajan. I once asked Hargovind Baba about how I do, how is the right way to sing bhajans or Arati. I want to learn all the words, the meaning of the words to, And then he said, you cannot learn it by translating the word from up in your heart. Every word, it will open up, and then the bhajans or the Arati, the words will open up in your heart, and then you have it. And that is my experience for singing the Arati or the bhajans. There is a world that open up, or there are the energies coming, or Hanuman is coming, or it's like, in the beginning I tried to understand every word I'm singing, and now it's like, it's often come in my mind what he said, it opens up in your heart. And that I just want to share. That's come in my mind. Yes.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Mhm. Very beautiful.
I wanted to share something that we talked about last week. I think Sandra, you brought up a question about tears and crying. And, you know, once again, even on this satsang, we understand, we hear different people's opinions. One likes the more quiet, one likes the 500 people, one wants to read, you know, the translation once in a while and put that in their hearts. One, you know, so we hear many different ways. And Babaji was, I saw, a master of that. You know, he would tell Karku, you do it this way. And he would tell Pujari, no, you do it this way. And somebody else the opposite way. So that, I don't know why, to confuse us so we don't get stuck in our heads, so we can go into our hearts. But I did, and you even heard some things, Sandro, about tears and crying that perhaps in like Pujari, you sort of I thought gave a nice explanation about that, as far as, yes, we talk about, you know, the great yogis that cold and hot, beautiful and ugly, none of that makes any difference. So then where do the tears come from? And yet then there were beautiful expressions about how Ramakrishna, and somebody wrote to us on the YouTube after watching it, because several hundred people will watch this and then they all write. And I sent it to some people about the tears, that St. Francis was blind, they said, by the time he died, because he was crying all the time and just wore his eyes out, because he was crying in love with all of nature and all the beauty, and probably compassion for the sadness that he saw. So I just want to point that out, because one of that really brought up to mind, one of my favorite chants is to the Divine Mother, Oma Hare Kandeshwari. And the translation of that is, I just weep when I cry. I cry every time I sing that song, because it's, oh Mother, at thy feet, the flowers of my devotion blossom. And it's just like we're talking about puja, you know, it's like, they just blossom, and Mother is more beautiful than she was the day before. And then the final verse is, when I take my last breath, may it be at your feet. And to me, that song is just, for me, it tells my story of my life that I wanted all my life, and I get to live it now. Like you said, being Pujari. And so go for it, Sandro, you cry all you want.
Don't worry, I do. But you know when I really will cry is when you don't send me the invites to these satsangs online. So I'm really hoping that you add me to your list.
Put me on your list.
Okay, well, yeah, give me that, but mostly look on, it's always on the ashram website. It's babajiashram.org. And there's a little place on the back says live stream. And if you go there, it will always say when and where it's going to be and the link. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And yeah, I appreciate your.
I have a lot of lists. I've got a lot of lists that we try to send them all to, but anyways.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But thank you for your thoughts on the tears as well. And I really. I love that bhajan too. That's Hare Kandeshwari is sometimes during Arati, inexplicably there will be notes struck that bring emotion and tears from my eyes that I can't explain.
Yeah.
And you may very well have explained it there. So, as I told Pujari, it's the closest thing to achieving excitement in my life is when tears flow. I feel huge joy and emotion, and that's a release. If something is being released, I'm not sure what, but regardless of what it is, it's bringing joy to me. So I don't hold back on tears either.
Great.
Yeah, beautiful.
Sundar, do you have anything to share our tear conversation that we had at the end of last week's satsang? I think of you as a quite a heartfelt-filled gentleman. As a matter of fact, one person commented when you did your first satsang with Jay Anand, their comment about you, because I read all these comments people send, they said, his face was just glowing and smiling the whole time. What do you think about tears?
Oh, I think that tears are lovely, beautiful. They're expression of our heart. They can also be expression of emotion and of self-pity and all this. They go with many different emotions, but they're certainly in the heart, certainly lovely. I feel the tears usually more inside. I'm not dripping a lot. I can feel tears inside quite often. And I must say that the last months and even years, the planet and the earth and so many people, so many suffering, yeah, I have many tears in my heart, many tears. And even knowing it is all illusion, and knowing that it is just a school, this planet is a school for us to learn, and we come again, then we have learned it, and we become that self. Still also, there is so much compassion with all these many human beings, animals, all these beings who are going through this pain of the illusion. And yeah, we are just with them. So the tears are inside. And in the last few years, many tears. Many tears.
Thank you. I think it was you, Gayatri, that said that you feel you've heard or you feel that the earth is nourished by our tears. Is that correct?
I always said to my son, because he's a big crier, that his tears are medicine for the earth.
I have a little story still, which is very beautiful in the Jewish tradition, in the oral tradition. There is one story of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Rachel, the mother of Joseph, she's one of the holy mothers, and she's sitting on the entrance gate of paradise, and she's crying for all those going out into the planet on the earth and what they will have to go through. And there she's sitting, and she's crying for all the souls who leave the paradise and enter into samsara. It's a very beautiful picture of the Divine Mother and her compassion for us. So I often think of Rachel, and so it's part of it. It's like we said before, we have Hanuman for courage and for strength. We have Ganesha for wisdom. Yes, we have the Divine Mother for her compassion, Mary, Rachel. We have all these aspects of us which are personified in all the gods and goddesses, personified to make us not only principles, to make us living beings. That's what we are. In the big lila of Bore Baba.
They're the animating principles, I think. Yeah, they animate us.
I always tell the story of a woman who was here early on in the ashram who we trained to be pujari, and she just loved it. And after some years, she left and was working at an elderly ladies' home, helping put on the nylon stockings and put their shoes on and rubbing their feet with some lotion. And she said all of a sudden it dawned on her she had learned how to do this so lovingly by being pujari in the temple. And that's what we're learning as pujaris, is to serve all of the earth. And like you said, also awakening those qualities that we're loving in that moment in ourselves, because we hold all those qualities of Hanuman and Mother and Ganesh and Beru Baba and all of them. So it just really touched me. And that's what I always tell people when we're learning puja. This is not about just here. This is about the whole world. It's how we live. Like Hiraman said so often, it's how we live our lives. We do puja moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, oops.
And it's also like our longing for the divine. It's all this chanting and puja is a way to express our longing to melt with the divine. So it's a gift from the gods that we can pray to the gods to become one with the gods, or one with the God inside. It's the longing, gets a channel to be expressed and answered. And like Ramakrishna said, it's only through suffering that we can meet the divine. So we have to go through this heartbreaking experiences and our longing to go beyond that and melt with the divine. We are lucky to have this satsang, and lucky to have this divine being or Babaji, or the whole divine realm behind us that's calling us home and that wants to be with us.
I'm going to go back to the Arati subject a minute, if that's okay. I'm not a big Arati person. I love the puja and the waving of the deepa, and I love that part, the offering of the light. But the songs seem to get longer and longer. They keep adding parts to the Arati. And in Harakan, Babaji would come when the Arati was finished. So I was like, jaldi, so we can get to Babaji's darshan. And then they added the Mother Arati, and then they added the Hanuman Chalisa, and then they added, and being the few years I was president at the ashram, it was basically Danesh Narayani and myself. So that was Arati in 3, and it was painful sometimes. I mean, Sandra, it was painful, and it just didn't sound great. So I remember Danesh started to do it reggae style, and that was beautiful because then we got some rhythm into it, and I started to get into it again. But I always like to get to the bhajans, I have to say, just because of repetition so often. I have a hard time sometimes breathing new life. And it's funny because now I've been watching Krishna Das the whole COVID, and he does an Arati, Jay Jagadish Hare, and it's so beautiful. And so I'm now really loving that Arati because it's new to me and fresh and beautiful. But I always get so mad every time I get together with all of you, and the Arati's longer. Stop it. Stop it. Cut it.
I agree.
Getting slower. We're all getting older. It's getting slower and slower.
Yes, and dragging on and on. And I don't know. Anyway, I wish I had taped Janesh's reggae Arati because it was really beautiful. But I mean, morning and night for like 3 years in 3 people. Oh God. I mean, I had to dig deep. And I also want to tell about writing to Babaji. I have a funny story because when I was told at Campbell Hot Springs by this Italian woman that he was calling me, she said, "You don't have to write, go right away." But I got worried that I don't have to write, but what if I don't write? And then I go there and he says, "Get out, you didn't write me." So I did compose a letter, and I had told my parents I was quitting my job and going to India, and they were all completely skeptical about the whole thing, and guru and cults. They were like, "Oh, he's just going to want your money." And so when Babaji wrote me back, and I had been told I don't need to write, but I did. I said, "You to bring $1,500.
I never heard that.
So my parents were like, "Oh my God, you're not going there." And I was like, because I had to bring him $2,500, which you should have seen his face when I gave it to him, because the whole trip I'd been keeping it safe and then going up the river, holding it close to my heart. And then that night in Darshan, I gave him the money. It was like I gave him a Kleenex. I mean, he couldn't give a shit about it. But I think it was really because of the fear of my parents that he was playing on that, you know. And anyway, I was going with Leonard. We were just beginning a relationship, and he was like, "I'll take you to Babaji."
Right.
And we got to Europe. Oh no, before we got to Europe, he comes to my apartment to pick me up that night for the plane, and he has another woman with him. So I said, "Who's that?" And he goes, "This is my new girlfriend." So I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I had to make a decision. Do I go with these two? I mean, at the time we had been in a relationship and we're going. And then he shows up with the new girlfriend. So I was like the third wheel, and it was very awkward. But I wanted to meet Babaji so bad that I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm going anyway. And then he started to send me on to places to prepare for his arrival for his rebirthing conference or whatever in Europe before we went to India. We were stopping in Paris and Switzerland and Poland and a few places. So he sends me on to Schwiebenalp. First I went on to France, but then I went on to Schwiebenalp. And it was Guru Purnima. And there was Hediakandi Mahadev did a concert that night. Oh my gosh, we were sitting in a big circle outside for lunch. Pujari was serving us. And it was the most beautiful experience for me. And it was really the thing that cinched me. Well, I was already a devotee of Babaji from day one, but it really was like, I got to go to India. This is this beautiful family. And so that night I made Mundan up on the third floor of the big house in Schwiebenalp. And so Leonard arrived a couple of days later, and he had told me, you can't go to Poland with a shaved head. So he was like, what did you do? You can't do that. You can't go to Poland with me. And I said, yes, I have no intention of going anywhere with you anymore. I'm going with this Hediakandi Mahadev to Italy, to a castle, an ashram that's a castle. And I'm going to learn what I need to learn there to go to India. So he was so upset that I had done this Mundan in Schwiebenalp, but it was so beautiful. Sundar, thank you so much for that experience there of Guru Purnima in '83. It was fantastic, and I'll never forget it. And Pujari, you too. I remember you both so well, and I didn't know anything then, but I was just so excited to know, okay, now I'm leaving Leonard and I'm going to go to Babaji on my own. So, and that was beautiful.
Well done. Well done.
You should say goodbye.
I've got to say goodbye because I have to go to work, but I just really love you all, my brothers and sisters, and thank you so much for this lovely time, and I just would like to leave with tears. I often think about Pujari once several times back said how sometimes just spontaneously when he's entering to the temple, quite frequently, how he just bursts into tears, and our dear brother has got it right. Tears are there. Tears are there. Okay. Love you all.
Love you.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra.
Bye. Bye, Sandra.
Your boat.
So, yeah. So unless Prasadini or Sundar or anybody else wants to share anything or any more questions? It's definitely.
Yeah, I'm actually ready to move on and some things to do. And it is very, very lovely to be honest with all of you. And I hear the Arati at the same time, just beneath me. The Arati is going on. And I must be also saying, with Gayatri, I am a almost every morning I'm out, but evenings I more go to myself. So this is, everybody has to do their own. There's so many ways. And I also use the Arati in the bed when I'm by myself. I like to sing the Arati when I'm just by myself. That's something that I like very much. Quietly, not even singing it, inside. That's a beautiful way also to get out of crisis, if there is one. To go from the beginning to all the things, or when I walk up the hill to the mountain, I can be always singing the whole arti going up the mountain, give so much energy. So much from me, and thank you very, very much. And yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sundar and Prasadini,
Yeah.
for this opportunity.
And Pujari, do you want to lead us in a short Om Namah Shivaya? Did you bring
Love
your...
you, Prasadini.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll just finish with Om Namah Shivaya, people, those that would like to stay. And thank you so much, Prasadini and Sundar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no, Shivai, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Let's see if it's gonna work.
Sounds good.
Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Baba ki Sabakon ki jai.
Bole Baba ki jai.
Ole, ole.
Love you all.
Love you all.
Love you all. Thank you, Ramloti.
It was so
Ciao.
nice.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you so much.